The story of Atlantis begins not with grand battles or sweeping conquests, but with a whisper across time, a delicate echo of a world that once was hidden beneath the restless waves. Imagine, for a moment, the gentle lapping of the ocean against a sunlit shore, the kind of calm that invites quiet reflection. Beneath that tranquil surface, however, lies a mystery that has fascinated humanity for thousands of years. A kingdom said to be both magnificent and lost, a civilization whose memory survives only in fragments of stories, ancient writings, and the human imagination. The very name, Atlantis, evokes a sense of wonder, a blend of longing and curiosity, carrying us across centuries to a place we have never seen, yet somehow feel we might know. Our journey begins with Plato, the Greek philosopher whose writings first brought Atlantis into the world of recorded thought. In his dialogues, Timaeus and Critias, Plato recounts the tale of an advanced civilization that existed 10,000 years before his own time. This kingdom, he wrote, was a land of extraordinary wealth and grandeur, with palaces of polished stone, sprawling gardens, and harbors that gleamed under the sun. Yet, despite its beauty and sophistication, Atlantis became a cautionary tale of hubris, a society undone by pride and ambition, swallowed by the unforgiving waters. The duality of Atlantis, its brilliance and its tragic disappearance, sets the stage for a story that is at once factual, philosophical, and mythic. But the story is more than just Plato's account. Across centuries, the legend has taken on many forms, growing with each telling, shifting like sunlight across the ocean. Some envision Atlantis as a paradise lost to a natural disaster. Others imagine it as a utopia destroyed by human folly. The lines between history and myth blur, and it is precisely this uncertainty that draws us in. There is comfort in the calm certainty of the known world, yet there is also an irresistible pull toward the unknown, the dark, hidden depths that hold secrets we may never fully understand. Atlantis exists in that liminal space, at the boundary of imagination and reality, beckoning us to explore, to dream, and to question. As we delve deeper, it is worth pausing to consider the human fascination with lost worlds. Perhaps it is the allure of discovery, the idea that beneath the surface of our everyday lives, vast mysteries remain waiting. Or perhaps it is the reflection of our own fears and desires, the fear of impermanence, the longing for greatness, the hope that somewhere, perhaps in another time or place, a civilization reached heights we have yet to imagine. Atlantis, in this sense, is not merely a distant land under the sea. It is a mirror held up to our own aspirations and vulnerabilities, a story that resonates with the eternal human quest for meaning. The imagery associated with Atlantis also contributes to its enduring appeal. Picture grand temples with golden rooftops, intricate canals winding through a bustling city, and statues of gods standing watch over serene plazas. Visualize a civilization in harmony with its environment, yet poised at the brink of disaster. The ocean, calm in appearance, conceals the power that can erase even the greatest of human achievements. These contrasts between light and shadow, creation and destruction, memory and loss, imbue the legend with a quiet poetry. As we move through this story, it is this poetry that will guide our understanding, carrying us gently from one idea to the next, much like the slow ebb and flow of the tides themselves. In this documentary, we will not rush. Instead, we will immerse ourselves in the soft currents of history and myth, letting the narrative unfold like a gentle tide. We will trace the origins of Atlantis, explore the ancient cultures that may have inspired it, and examine the geological and archaeological mysteries that suggest it could have existed. Along the way, we will encounter both hard evidence and tantalizing gaps in knowledge, moments of certainty and stretches of beautiful, haunting ambiguity. By holding both the known and the unknown together, we enter a space of curiosity, reflection, and quiet wonder. a space where the legend of Atlantis can speak to us not just as a story, but as an experience, a meditation, and a dream. As night falls and the world grows quiet, there is a special intimacy to tales like these. They invite listeners to close their eyes, to drift into contemplation, and to travel across time and space without ever leaving their own room. Atlantis is not merely a legend. It is a companion for the imagination, a gateway into the deep, soothing rhythms of history and mystery. And so, with this gentle invitation, we begin our journey beneath the waves, seeking the echoes of a kingdom that time forgot, and allowing ourselves to wander slowly, quietly, into the depths of wonder. Long before Atlantis captured the imaginations of modern writers and explorers, its story first emerged in the quiet, reflective words of Plato, the philosopher who sought not only to understand the world around him, but also the moral and spiritual dimensions of human civilization. In his dialogues Timaeus and Critias, written around 360 BCE, Plato introduces Atlantis as an ancient kingdom of extraordinary sophistication and power. Yet the purpose of his story extends beyond the simple recounting of a lost city. It is a meditation on human ambition, virtue, and the delicate balance between prosperity and hubris. Atlantis is both a historical curiosity and a moral allegory, a tale that blends fact and imagination in a way that has fascinated thinkers, storytellers, and dreamers for centuries. According to Plato, Atlantis existed roughly 10,000 years before his own time, a period so distant that even memory struggles to preserve its shape. It was a land of striking contrasts, lush plains and towering mountains, fertile fields and glittering harbors, a civilization governed by wisdom, yet capable of hubris. Plato describes a society rich in resources, possessing advanced architecture, intricate canals, and temples adorned with gold and precious stones. The Atlanteans, he writes, once lived in harmony with the natural world, but their growing pride and desire for dominion over others led to their ultimate downfall. Through this story, Plato presents a duality that is central to the legend: beauty and grandeur intertwined with impermanence and decay. This contrast between light and darkness, creation and destruction, forms the foundation of Atlantis' enduring mystique. But Plato's account was never meant to be purely historical. Scholars continue to debate whether he intended Atlantis as a literal place, a symbolic construct, or a philosophical device. In Timaeus, he situates Atlantis beyond the Pillars of Heracles, what we now know as the Strait of Gibraltar, suggesting a distant and unreachable realm. In Critias, he expands upon the city's layout, the nature of its people, and the richness of its environment. These descriptions are vivid, almost cinematic, yet they are interwoven with philosophical commentary. Atlantis becomes a lens through which Plato explores timeless questions. How should societies wield power? What happens when moral decay overtakes prosperity? Can the mistakes of a forgotten civilization serve as guidance for the present? The story, though ancient, resonates across millennia because it asks questions that remain profoundly relevant. The legend of Atlantis also raises the intriguing tension between knowledge and imagination. Plato provides intricate details: the number of concentric rings of land and water, the dimensions of harbors, the metals mined from the mountains. But there are no concrete archaeological confirmations from his time. This blend of specificity and ambiguity creates a space where curiosity thrives. The listener or reader is left suspended between certainty and mystery, able to envision Atlantis with striking clarity while acknowledging that it may exist only in the folds of memory, imagination, and philosophical thought. It is this delicate balance between the known and the unknown that continues to give Atlantis its hypnotic allure, drawing us toward the depths of possibility without ever fully revealing its secrets. Plato's account was preserved and propagated by successive generations of thinkers and historians. Ancient Greek and Roman scholars debated its authenticity, some dismissing it as pure allegory, others suggesting it referred to civilizations known to them through trade or legend. Even in antiquity, The line between history and myth was not sharply drawn. Stories were transmitted orally, adapted, and reinterpreted according to the cultural lens of the storyteller. This fluidity is part of what allows Atlantis to survive in the collective imagination. Each retelling adds subtle layers, geographical speculation, moral interpretation, or literary flourish, creating a tapestry that is at once deeply rooted in philosophical thought and soaringly mythic. Beyond Plato, the legend of Atlantis begins to intersect with human attempts to understand the wider world. Ancient civilizations were acutely aware of the fragility of human achievement, having witnessed floods, volcanic eruptions, and shifting coastlines. In this context, the story of sunken kingdoms speaks to universal fears, that even the most powerful civilizations can vanish, leaving behind only echoes in stone and story. By framing Atlantis as a world both real and imagined, Plato tapped into a deep well of human reflection, one that links our desire for understanding with our need to dream. The legend becomes a meditation not only on a lost city, but also on memory, history, and the passage of time. What makes Plato's account especially captivating is its careful blend of moral teaching and narrative detail. He provides enough description to allow the listener to wander through Atlantean cities, to picture the gleam of sun on stone, the intricate patterns of canals and bridges, and the disciplined life of its citizens. Yet he refrains from giving absolute answers, leaving gaps that invite wonder, speculation, and imagination. These gaps are the heart of the story's enduring power. Listeners are free to imagine hidden chambers beneath the waves, untold technologies, and the lives of people who might have walked through golden plazas long before our recorded history. The contrast between what is described and what remains unknowable mirrors the rhythms of the sea itself, sometimes calm, sometimes unknowable, always alluring. As we reflect on the origins of the Atlantis legend, it becomes clear that its endurance is rooted not only in the story itself, but in the questions it poses. How do civilizations rise and fall? What lessons can be drawn from the successes and failures of the past? And perhaps most compellingly, what is the relationship between human aspiration and the natural world? A relationship that can be both beautiful and fragile. Atlantis is not merely a tale of a sunken kingdom. It is a story about us, about the eternal human fascination with the limits of knowledge, the lure of discovery, and the mysteries that lie just beyond the edge of understanding. By beginning with Plato's dialogues, we enter into the quiet rhythm of contemplation, where history, philosophy, and imagination intertwine. The listener is invited to drift through the echoes of an ancient world, guided by the soft currents of storytelling and the gentle pull of curiosity. In this space, the lost kingdom of Atlantis exists both as a vision of the past and as a mirror for the present, a place where moral reflection and wonder coexist. And so, as we move forward in this exploration, we carry with us the seed of that first whisper across time. The legend of Atlantis, poised delicately between fact and myth, history and imagination, waiting to be rediscovered beneath the waves. The story of Atlantis did not exist in isolation. While Plato's writings laid the foundation for the legend, echoes of similar lost worlds and vanished civilizations appear throughout the ancient world. Across distant lands, from the sands of Egypt to the islands of the Mediterranean, cultures told tales of cities swallowed by the sea, lands erased by cataclysm, and civilizations that disappeared almost without a trace. These accounts often carried a quiet moral or spiritual resonance, reminding humanity of the fleeting nature of power, the fragility of life, and the subtle mysteries that lie just beyond perception. In exploring these stories, we begin to see Atlantis not only as a Greek legend, but as part of a broader human fascination with memory, loss, and the unknown. Egypt, with its long and meticulously recorded history, offers one of the earliest potential intersections with the Atlantis narrative. Some interpretations of Plato suggest that he may have drawn on Egyptian records preserved in temples and hieroglyphs, which described distant lands and great floods that reshaped the world. The Egyptians themselves were acutely aware of the impermanence of human endeavor. Their pyramids, though enduring, were constructed in a civilization that had experienced droughts, political upheaval, and shifts in the Nile's course. Within these records, there are allusions to lands lost to the waters, and although the exact parallels to Atlantis are speculative, they hint at a shared cultural memory, that of a powerful kingdom swallowed by forces beyond human control. This connection between ancient memory and myth underscores the tension between what is known and what remains tantalizingly hidden, a tension that lies at the heart of the Atlantis story. Further west, the Minoan civilization of Crete provides another fascinating layer to the narrative. Flourishing around 2000 BCE, the Minoans built complex palaces, advanced infrastructure, and vibrant trade networks across the Mediterranean. Their society was sophisticated, peaceful for much of its history, and deeply connected to the rhythms of the sea. Yet, like Atlantis, the Minoans experienced a sudden catastrophe, the eruption of the Thera volcano, which devastated the island and affected neighboring civilizations. Archaeologists have long debated whether Plato's Atlantis was inspired, in part, by memories of such events, passed down through oral traditions. The parallels are striking: a powerful maritime civilization, cultural sophistication, and sudden destruction. The resonance of these similarities invites reflection, not only on historical coincidence, but on a human desire to preserve lessons through story, even across generations. Beyond the Mediterranean, myths of lost lands and submerged kingdoms appear in Mesopotamia and beyond. The Sumerians and Babylonians, whose cities rose and fell along the shifting rivers, spoke of great floods and civilizations undone by water's relentless force. The Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the earliest known literary works, recounts a flood of almost unimaginable scale, erasing human settlements and leaving only the memory of survival and divine warning. Such stories may not refer to Atlantis directly, yet they reveal a shared cultural consciousness, a recognition that human societies, no matter how grand, are vulnerable to nature's profound and often unpredictable power. In these myths, water is both life-giving and destructive, a symbol of creation and erasure, mirroring the dual nature of Atlantis itself. Even in regions far from the Mediterranean, legends speak of lost lands beneath the waves. In Ireland and parts of the British Isles, tales of submerged lands like Loch Ness and Canterar Gaelid mirror the Atlantis archetype: prosperous kingdoms, fertile and flourishing, claimed by the sea. These stories, transmitted orally over generations, often carry moral undertones, warning against arrogance, neglect, or defiance of natural law. The recurring motifs, the rise of civilization, its splendor, and its ultimate disappearance, suggest a universal fascination with the idea of impermanence, particularly when tied to the majesty and mystery of the ocean. Such parallels hint at a collective human consciousness, one that interprets natural disasters, lost technologies, and cultural collapse through the language of story and myth. The allure of Atlantis in these cultural contexts is heightened by contrasts: the tangible and intangible, the remembered and forgotten. While archaeologists uncover ruins of Minoan palaces or Egyptian temples, the spaces between fact and speculation remain vast and inviting. These gaps allow imagination to wander, to reconstruct lost streets, to envision lives that once existed beneath skies, now silent for millennia. The story of Atlantis resonates because it embodies that space, where fragments of history meet the infinite possibilities of imagination. The human mind, drawn to patterns and meaning, fills these voids with visions of splendor and mystery, keeping the legend alive across centuries. Moreover, examining Atlantis alongside other ancient cultures illuminates how myths travel, adapt, and persist. Stories of floods, sunken cities, and vanished civilizations were often passed through trade routes, travelers, and scholars. They evolved with each retelling, influenced by local geography, climate, and societal values. In this way, Atlantis becomes a prism through which we can observe not just a single legend, but a tapestry of interconnected human memory, reflecting both the particularities of each culture and the universality of the themes they shared: loss, memory, and the fragile nature of human achievement. Through the lens of comparative mythology and history, Atlantis ceases to be simply a Greek philosophical curiosity. It emerges as a symbol woven into the fabric of human thought. Each culture that echoes its story reminds us that fascination with lost civilizations is a global phenomenon, a meditation on impermanence and aspiration. The legend encourages reflection on our own civilization, prompting gentle questions about pride, sustainability, and the delicate interplay between humanity and the natural world. In this sense, the story of Atlantis is not only a narrative of the past. It is a quiet guide for contemplation in the present, an invitation to listen closely to the whispers of history and the subtle lessons embedded within myth. As we move through these ancient echoes, we notice a subtle pattern. Atlantis is always described at the boundary between reality and imagination. In Egypt, there are precise records but ambiguous hints. In Crete, tangible ruins meet volcanic destruction. In Mesopotamia, myth carries echoes of historical events. Each example balances fact and mystery, known and unknown, light and shadow. This interplay draws us in, creating a soft tension that is comforting in its rhythm, like waves brushing against a shore at twilight, predictable, yet always hinting at unseen depths. By exploring these ancient civilizations, we not only gain historical context for the legend of Atlantis, but also enter a space of reflection and wonder. The story becomes more than a single tale of a lost city. It is part of a mosaic of human memory, stretching across continents and millennia. Each culture contributes a piece of the puzzle, each myth a fragment of understanding, and each ruin a quiet reminder of the impermanence of human endeavor. The legend of Atlantis, when seen through this lens, is less about proving existence and more about exploring the enduring human fascination with what lies beyond reach, beneath waves, and beyond the horizon of knowledge. In this section, then, we are invited to drift through time and space, visiting civilizations that may have inspired the legend, and observing how the interplay of memory, myth, and history creates a world simultaneously concrete and ethereal. Atlantis emerges not merely as a lost kingdom of the past, but as a timeless reflection on humanity itself, a story that encourages us to look deeper, to imagine, and to embrace the mystery that lies beneath the surface of our own understanding. And so, with these echoes of ancient cultures guiding our imagination, we continue our journey, moving next into the hidden landscapes of the deep sea, where history, legend, and the natural world converge beneath the waves. Beneath the surface of the ocean lies a realm of quiet mystery, a place where time seems to slow and the remnants of forgotten worlds may rest. The story of Atlantis draws us inevitably toward this hidden landscape, a place both real and imagined, where the boundaries between history and legend blur like sunlight through water. The deep sea is at once beautiful and foreboding, a vast expanse that has witnessed millennia of change, rising and falling tides, shifting tectonic plates, and cataclysmic events capable of reshaping entire continents. It is here, in these shadowed depths, that the possibility of Atlantis takes on a tangible, almost haunting presence. The ocean becomes a living archive, holding traces of civilizations lost to time, their stories encoded in submerged mountains, sunken plains, and the silent whispers of currents flowing over the ocean floor. Modern science has opened a window into these deep, hidden worlds. Oceanographers and geologists study continental shelves, undersea plateaus, and submerged coastlines, seeking to understand the forces that have shaped the Earth over tens of thousands of years. The planet's surface is far from static. Tectonic activity, earthquakes, and volcanic eruptions have continually reshaped the map of the world, raising mountains, carving valleys, and sometimes swallowing entire stretches of land beneath the waves. Could Atlantis have been one such land? A civilization perched on a now-submerged plateau, erased by natural catastrophe, yet preserved in memory and myth? While no definitive proof exists, the geological record reminds us that dramatic changes in coastlines and underwater landscapes are not only possible, they are inevitable. One of the most compelling candidates in modern research is the submerged region known as the Azores Plateau, located in the Atlantic Ocean near the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. Geologically, it represents a raised segment of the ocean floor, a plateau of volcanic origin with ancient rock formations that hint at periods of exposure above water. Some researchers have speculated that this area could correspond to Plato's descriptions of Atlantis, lying beyond the Pillars of Heracles. While mainstream science treats this as speculative, it provides a fascinating intersection of geology and legend. The Azores Plateau reminds us that the ocean floor is far from uniform or static. What we now see as deep sea may once have been fertile plains or rocky coastlines, and what is lost to water is not necessarily lost to history, memory, or imagination. Tsunamis and earthquakes further complicate the picture. Historical records and geological studies indicate that coastal civilizations have long been vulnerable to sudden inundation. Entire cities and islands have been destroyed in moments, leaving only traces beneath layers of sediment and water. The Mediterranean, for instance, has a well-documented history of seismic activity, including volcanic eruptions that sent massive tsunamis racing across the sea. Such phenomena provide a plausible framework for understanding Atlantis, not merely as a philosophical or literary construct, but as a civilization that could have been abruptly erased from the map, leaving only fragments preserved in legend. The very unpredictability of the ocean, both beautiful and devastating, reinforces the tension between what is known and what remains unknowable, a tension that lies at the heart of Atlantis' allure. Yet the mystery of the deep is not solely geological. The ocean itself seems almost sentient in the way it preserves and conceals. Currents sweep across submerged plains, eroding ruins and burying them in layers of sand, silt, and coral. Light rarely penetrates beyond a few hundred meters, and pressure grows immense, creating an environment almost entirely alien to human experience. Under these conditions, even the most durable constructions can disappear over time, leaving behind only subtle hints: an unnatural ridge, a cluster of stones too orderly to be random, or anomalous patterns visible only through sonar and satellite mapping. The deep sea, in this way, becomes a canvas for both history and imagination, inviting us to wonder what lies hidden beneath miles of water, beyond the reach of casual observation. Explorers and researchers have occasionally reported enigmatic formations, unusual rock structures, and submerged patterns that spark curiosity and debate. Some suggest that these could be remnants of ancient civilizations, perhaps even Atlantis, while others caution that natural processes can create remarkably regular formations. This interplay between certainty and uncertainty mirrors the structure of Plato's original narrative. Details enough to inspire the imagination, yet gaps sufficient to maintain mystery. It is precisely this space between evidence and speculation that makes the search for Atlantis so compelling, allowing the mind to drift gently between reason and wonder, fact and fantasy, known and unknown. The very act of considering submerged landscapes invites reflection on the passage of time. Entire civilizations, like Atlantis may have been, are subject to the slow but relentless forces of nature. Rising seas, shifting tectonic plates, and climatic changes can erase cities as completely as fire or war, leaving only memory and myth. Yet paradoxically, the deep ocean also preserves. Sediment layers can protect artifacts and structures, coral can encrust ruins, and cold, dark waters can slow decay. These paradoxes, the ocean as both destroyer and preserver, concealer and revealer, mirror the dual nature of Atlantis itself, a kingdom simultaneously remembered and lost, factual and allegorical, real and imagined. The geological perspective also invites a meditative appreciation of scale. Consider the vastness of the Atlantic, stretching thousands of kilometers, with depths that dwarf the tallest mountains on land. To imagine a civilization thriving on a now-submerged plateau within this expanse is to confront the enormity of natural forces and the transience of human achievement. Yet within this immensity, there's a quiet poetry, the rhythm of waves, the gentle rise and fall of tides, the slow shifting of continents. Atlantis, in this frame, is not just a story of loss. It is a meditation on time, the sea, and our place within the natural world. By exploring the hidden landscapes beneath the waves, we begin to see Atlantis as more than myth or legend. It is a symbol of humanity's fascination with the unseen, the submerged, and the unknowable. The ocean, with its shifting currents and secret depths, mirrors the human mind, vast, layered, and full of possibilities. In contemplating submerged plains, tectonic upheavals, and ancient coastlines, we enter a space where science and imagination coexist, where curiosity is encouraged, and where the boundaries of our understanding are gently expanded. As we prepare to transition from the geological to the archaeological, from the ocean's hidden landscapes to tangible traces of the past, we carry with us an awareness of both fragility and endurance. Atlantis, whether it existed as Plato described or remained a philosophical allegory, exists in this liminal space between what can be studied and what can only be imagined. The ocean, silent and immense, preserves both the mystery and the possibility, inviting us to explore, to dream, and to reflect on the stories that rise from the depths of history and imagination. As we shift our gaze from the deep, shadowed landscapes of the ocean to the surface world of archaeology, Atlantis begins to emerge in a different light, one shaped by tangible remnants, artifacts, and the traces of human ingenuity long preserved beneath soil, stone, and memory. Archaeology, with its careful excavation and meticulous documentation, offers a bridge between myth and history, allowing us to explore whether the legend of a lost kingdom might reflect real civilizations that once flourished, only to vanish from view. It is here, in the quiet study of artifacts, ruins, and ancient settlements, that the story of Atlantis takes on a sense of immediacy and intimacy. Each shard of pottery, each carved stone, is a whisper from the past, hinting at lives lived, societies organized, and worlds lost to time. Across the Mediterranean, archaeologists have unearthed sites that resonate with the grandeur Plato described. In Crete, the palaces of Knossos reveal a civilization of striking complexity. Elaborate frescoes, multi-story structures, advanced plumbing systems, and vibrant trade networks paint a picture of a society that, in its sophistication, mirrors the Atlantean ideal of order and prosperity. The Minoans lived in harmony with the sea, their economies and culture intertwined with maritime trade. And yet, despite their advancement, they too faced catastrophic upheavals. The volcanic eruption of Thera, earthquakes, and subsequent social decline that remind us of the fragility underlying even the most impressive civilizations. The parallels to Atlantis are striking, inviting reflection on how stories of lost kingdoms may be rooted in real historical memory, transformed over centuries into legend. Further west, the Canary Islands and Azores offer tantalizing archaeological possibilities. While the evidence here is less conclusive, early settlers left traces of stone structures, artifacts, and unique cultural practices that hint at human habitation on islands that may have been more extensive or differently configured in ancient times. Some researchers have speculated that rising sea levels and volcanic activity could have submerged larger land masses, leaving only fragments visible today. While mainstream archaeology remains cautious, these sites provide a fertile ground for imagination, demonstrating how the intersection of geology and human activity can give rise to stories that endure in memory and myth. The archaeological record, in this sense, does not provide certainty, but it does offer glimpses of worlds that may once have existed, quietly feeding the imagination. Even in Egypt, the meticulous preservation of temples and tombs offers insights into civilizations that valued both permanence and storytelling. Hieroglyphs, monumental architecture, and records of distant lands suggest that ancient peoples were acutely aware of the ebb and flow of human achievement. References to distant islands, floods, and vanished cultures echo Plato's accounts and hint at a collective memory shared across civilizations. These glimpses remind us that Atlantis, whether real or allegorical, fits within a broader pattern. Human societies documenting both triumph and disaster, and using narrative to preserve lessons for future generations. In this, archaeology and legend intertwine, creating a layered understanding of the past that is both factual and reflective. One of the most compelling aspects of archaeological study is its ability to illuminate the everyday life of ancient peoples. Artifacts such as pottery, tools, jewelry, and inscriptions offer intimate details of daily existence, from trade and craftsmanship to spiritual practice. In imagining Atlantis through these objects, we begin to see the human side of the legend. People who built homes, navigated rivers, cultivated crops, and celebrated communal rituals. Plato's description of Atlanteans as disciplined, cultured, and morally complex becomes more tangible when viewed alongside the material remains of historical civilizations. The story of Atlantis is thus enriched by archaeology, not simply as a question of existence, but as a meditation on human ingenuity, resilience, and vulnerability. Submerged archaeology, or the study of underwater ruins, provides yet another layer of intrigue. Advances in technology, sonar mapping, remotely operated vehicles, and underwater excavation techniques allow researchers to explore ancient coastlines and submerged settlements with unprecedented precision. Discoveries of sunken cities, harbors, and structures off the coasts of the Mediterranean, the Caribbean, and beyond hint at the possibility of civilizations lost to rising seas and geological shifts. While no site has been definitively linked to Atlantis, these findings reinforce the plausibility of submerged worlds, echoing the philosophical and literary imagination that Plato first inspired. The ocean, in this sense, serves as both archivist and storyteller, preserving traces of human achievement even in the most challenging environments. Archaeology also illuminates the technological capabilities of ancient civilizations, offering a lens through which to imagine the sophistication Plato attributed to Atlantis. From advanced metallurgy and architectural precision to intricate water management systems, ancient peoples achieved remarkable feats that continue to inspire awe. These accomplishments, when viewed alongside accounts of Atlantean canals, temples, and fortified cities, suggest that Plato's story may reflect, at least in part, knowledge of real technological advancements. It is not necessarily the exact city that survives in memory, but the idea of a civilization capable of shaping its environment, harnessing resources, and achieving harmony with natural forces, a vision that speaks to human aspiration across time. Yet, archaeology also reminds us of impermanence. Every artifact is a fragment, every ruin a reminder that civilizations rise and fall. The layers of sediment, the erosion of stone, and the shifting tides all conspire to erase the traces of human achievement. Atlantis, in this context, becomes a metaphor for the delicate balance between creation and decay. It is a kingdom remembered not only through Plato's writings, but through the echoes of real civilizations whose ingenuity and vulnerability were preserved in material form. In this interplay between preservation and loss, archaeology deepens the contrast central to Atlantis: grandeur and ruin, memory and mystery, the known and the unknowable. Exploring these artifacts also invites a quiet meditation on the relationship between human society and the natural world. Many ancient civilizations, including those that may have inspired Atlantis, relied on rivers, seas, and fertile plains, yet were constantly subject to the whims of nature. Floods, volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, and climate changes could erase entire settlements overnight. Archaeology, in revealing the evidence of these vulnerabilities, provides a tangible reminder that human ambition exists within the broader context of environmental forces. Atlantis, as both story and symbol, encapsulates this delicate dance between human creativity and natural power, reminding us that the grandeur of civilization is always fragile, always subject to time and tide. Finally, archaeology enriches the imaginative aspect of the Atlantis legend. The objects and ruins unearthed by careful hands invite the mind to wander through spaces no longer inhabited. Marketplaces bustling with trade, temples echoing with chants, streets alive with the rhythm of daily life. Each discovery sparks curiosity and wonder, creating a bridge between the past and the story as told by Plato. In this way, the discipline becomes not only a scientific endeavor, but also a poetic one, inviting listeners to imagine the lives, hopes, and challenges of people who may have walked paths now lost beneath time or water. In this section, archaeology serves as both anchor and compass. It anchors the story of Atlantis in material reality, offering evidence of civilizations that could plausibly have inspired Plato's vision. At the same time, it acts as a compass, guiding the imagination through fragments, ruins, and submerged landscapes, allowing us to explore worlds lost to time. The interplay between fact and speculation, permanence and loss, known and unknown, creates a rhythm that is both soothing and intellectually engaging, a rhythm perfectly suited to the contemplative journey through the legend of Atlantis. As we prepare to transition from artifacts to the broader patterns of cultural memory and legend, we carry with us an awareness of both possibility and mystery. The objects unearthed by archaeology whisper of civilizations that were, may have been, or might only exist in story. Atlantis, whether tangible or allegorical, lives in this space between evidence and imagination, where every shard of pottery, every submerged wall, and every echo from the past enriches the narrative. It is here, in the intersection of material culture and enduring myth, that we continue our journey, moving next into the evolving interpretations and retellings of Atlantis across centuries. As we move from the tangible remnants of ancient civilizations into the currents of human imagination, the story of Atlantis begins to take on a new life, one shaped not only by what may have existed beneath the waves, but by how generations of storytellers, philosophers, and explorers have carried the legend forward. Plato's dialogues, Timaeus and Critias, serve as the initial vessels, preserving a vision of a kingdom both extraordinary and tragic. Yet even as these writings offer the first recorded account, the interpretation of Atlantis has evolved across centuries, shifting in response to cultural priorities, philosophical reflection, and the innate human desire to bridge the gap between known history and the unknown mysteries of the past. It is here, in the transmission of story, that Atlantis transforms from a possible historical reality into a symbol of curiosity, imagination, and human longing. The Middle Ages treated Plato's account with a mixture of reverence and skepticism. Scholars in Europe, constrained by limited knowledge of geography and preoccupied with religious cosmology, debated whether Atlantis could be a literal place or merely a moral allegory. In many ways, the legend was reshaped to reflect contemporary values. Atlantis became a cautionary tale about hubris, divine punishment, and the fleeting nature of worldly power. It was no longer only a distant kingdom beneath the waves. It became a mirror in which societies could examine themselves, contemplating both the grandeur of human achievement and the perils of overreaching ambition. The contrast between idealized civilization and sudden destruction, so vividly captured by Plato, resonated deeply with thinkers who lived in a world where empires rose and fell under the watchful eyes of fate and providence. During the Renaissance, the legend experienced a revival as scholars and artists began exploring classical texts with renewed interest. Maps of distant lands, voyages of exploration, and discoveries of previously unknown civilizations fueled speculation that Atlantis might correspond to a real location somewhere on Earth. This period highlighted a delicate interplay between curiosity and evidence. While no concrete proof emerged, the very act of questioning, mapping, and imagining distant shores reflected the human desire to reconcile the known world with the infinite mysteries beyond. Atlantis, in the hands of Renaissance thinkers, became a symbol of possibility, a lost kingdom whose existence challenged the boundaries of understanding and inspired journeys both intellectual and physical. The Age of Enlightenment brought yet another transformation. Rationality, science, and empirical observation demanded proof, and many dismissed Atlantis as fiction or allegory. However, even in this era of reason, the story retained its allure. Philosophers, geographers, and historians debated the plausibility of a sunken continent, examining geological formations, ocean currents, and accounts of distant lands. The tension between skepticism and wonder created fertile ground for the legend's persistence. Atlantis became a canvas for human curiosity, a story that thrived precisely because it existed at the intersection of certainty and mystery. It invited listeners and readers to consider not only what might have been, but also how knowledge and imagination coexist in the pursuit of truth. Across the centuries, explorers and writers added new layers to the narrative. From the Americas to the Indian Ocean, any submerged land, lost city, or ancient civilization became a candidate for Atlantean origin. The legend expanded geographically and culturally, absorbing elements from disparate regions and histories, while always retaining its central theme, a civilization of remarkable achievement undone by natural catastrophe. Each reinterpretation reflects the values, fears, and aspirations of the era, demonstrating that Atlantis is as much a mirror of human culture as it is a story of a lost kingdom. In this sense, the legend becomes a living entity, evolving with each retelling, adapting to the needs of those who wish to find meaning in its depths. Literature and art further shaped the public imagination, transforming Atlantis into a symbol of both utopia and tragedy. Poets, painters, and novelists have drawn upon Plato's vision to explore ideas of societal perfection, moral decay, and the fragility of human civilization. In these retellings, Atlantis is at once familiar and fantastical, a place that sparks quiet wonder, a kingdom of golden palaces, thriving harbors, and advanced knowledge. The interplay between concrete imagery and abstract morality encourages reflection, creating a narrative space in which listeners can drift between historical possibility and imaginative exploration. The continuous reinterpretation of Atlantis also underscores a fundamental human desire to seek patterns, meaning, and connection across time and space. The legend's persistence through millennia reflects our fascination with the unknown, the submerged, and the lost. It embodies the tension between what we can observe and what we can only dream of, mirroring the rhythm of the sea itself. Waves of certainty followed by currents of mystery. In the modern era, the search for Atlantis shifts from philosophical speculation and literary imagination to the precise tools of science, exploration, and technology. The deep oceans, once inscrutable and impenetrable, are now accessible through sonar mapping, remotely operated vehicles, and deep-sea submersibles. These instruments allow researchers to examine the seafloor with unprecedented clarity, revealing patterns and structures that hint at past human activity, or at the very least, spark questions that fuel our imagination. The ocean, silent and vast, becomes a canvas where history, myth, and science converge. Even in the calm of observation, there's a sense of suspense. Each sonar echo, each submerged ridge, each anomalous formation invites speculation and wonder. Satellite imaging and sonar surveys have unveiled features that resemble sunken cities, ancient coastlines, and submerged plateaus. In the Atlantic, Certain underwater formations have been interpreted by some as potential evidence of Atlantean ruins. While mainstream scientists remain cautious, most anomalies can be explained through natural geological processes. The possibility of a lost civilization hidden beneath layers of sediment and water continues to captivate both researchers and the public. The ocean floor is dynamic and ancient, shaped by tectonic shifts, volcanic activity, and the slow accumulation of sediment over thousands of years. Within these processes, it is conceivable that a once thriving landmass could have disappeared beneath the waves, leaving only subtle traces detectable by modern technology. One area that has received significant attention is the Azores Plateau, a cluster of islands and submerged structures located along the mid-Atlantic ridge. This region presents a combination of elevated terrain, ancient rock formations, and evidence of past geological upheaval. Proponents of the Atlantis hypothesis suggest that the plateau could represent the remnants of a larger landmass described by Plato, one that sank beneath the ocean due to earthquakes or catastrophic flooding. Critics argue that the formations are entirely natural, shaped by volcanic activity and tectonic movement, yet the debate itself exemplifies the delicate interplay between observation, interpretation, and imagination. Even inconclusive findings serve to maintain the tension between the known and the unknown, encouraging quiet reflection on what might lie hidden in the deep. The Caribbean Sea offers another intriguing theater for exploration. Researchers have identified submerged pyramidal formations off the coast of Cuba, along with stone alignments that suggest intentional construction. The age of these structures, estimated through geological and archaeological methods, suggests they could date back thousands of years, raising questions about early human settlement in the region. While direct connections to Atlantis remain speculative, the discovery of these formations reinforces the idea that the oceans conceal long-lost histories, waiting to be revealed by careful study. The interplay of mystery and empirical investigation mirrors the rhythm of the ocean itself. Waves of discovery followed by periods of calm uncertainty. Technology has also transformed our understanding of ancient coastlines. During the last ice age, sea levels were significantly lower, exposing vast tracts of land that are now submerged beneath hundreds of meters of water. Continental shelves around the world, once dry and habitable, may have supported thriving communities. Submerged river valleys, freshwater sources, and fertile plains suggest that human settlement was not only possible but likely. These lost landscapes provide a plausible setting for the Atlantis narrative, where rising seas gradually swallowed territories and forced populations to migrate. In this context, the legend of Atlantis may represent a distant memory of real environmental change, preserved and amplified through storytelling over millennia. Marine archaeology adds another layer of fascination. Underwater excavations, though slow and painstaking, occasionally uncover artifacts, structures, or unusual formations that suggest human presence. These discoveries are often fragmentary: a shard of pottery, a carved stone, an alignment of megaliths, but they evoke the possibility of lost civilizations. Each find is a reminder that the ocean preserves as well as it conceals. Coral growth, sediment deposition, and cold, dark water's slow decay, creating conditions in which remnants of the past may survive for thousands of years. The ocean, in this sense, acts both as guardian and enigma, offering glimpses of history while preserving the sense of wonder that fuels exploration. The scientific pursuit of Atlantis also highlights the delicate balance between skepticism and curiosity. While rigorous research requires evidence, the search itself is enriched by imagination. Explorers must consider geological processes, sea level changes, and archaeological data, yet they're also guided by intuition, historical texts, and patterns that may otherwise go unnoticed. This duality mirrors the legend itself, a story rooted in observation, but expanded and animated by human creativity. The contrast between certainty and mystery, fact and possibility, is at the heart of why the search for Atlantis continues to captivate the imagination, particularly in a format designed for calm reflection and immersive storytelling. Modern expeditions have embraced interdisciplinary approaches, combining geology, archaeology, oceanography, and history to examine possible Atlantean sites. Remote sensing, sediment analysis, and carbon dating work in tandem with historical research to reconstruct ancient coastlines and landscapes. This integration of knowledge demonstrates how the legend of Atlantis is not simply a relic of the past, but a dynamic framework for inquiry, a question that invites both rational analysis and poetic contemplation. Every expedition, successful or inconclusive, reinforces the mystery while providing new insights into the processes that shape our planet. Public fascination continues to fuel the search as well. Documentaries, books, and online resources allow people around the world to participate in the narrative, imagining themselves drifting over submerged plains, exploring underwater ruins, and pondering the fate of a vanished civilization. The legend of Atlantis has, in this sense, become a shared space for collective curiosity, where listeners can drift between evidence and wonder, contemplation and imagination. This communal aspect of the story underscores its enduring power. Atlantis persists not only because it might have existed, but because it satisfies a deep human desire to explore, to dream, and to connect with worlds lost to time. In contemplating modern searches for Atlantis, we are reminded that the ocean is vast, mysterious, and patient. It does not reveal its secrets easily. And yet, with every sonar scan, underwater survey, and careful dive, we come closer to understanding the complex interplay of natural forces and human history that may have inspired the legend. Atlantis, whether real or symbolic, becomes a meditation on the unknown depths, both beneath the waves and within our own imagination. The rhythm of discovery, the tension of uncertainty, and the quiet beauty of submerged landscapes invite reflection, offering a sense of wonder that lingers long after the lights are dimmed and the ocean's surface returns to calm. As we prepare to move from modern explorations to the stories of cultural fascination, how Atlantis continues to inspire artists, writers, and dreamers around the world. We carry with us an awareness of scale, patience, and a subtle interplay of knowledge and mystery. The search for Atlantis is not only a scientific endeavor, but a journey of imagination, inviting us to drift gently through the currents of time, history, and possibility. In the quiet of the deep sea, and in the calm of reflective thought, Atlantis remains both lost and present, a kingdom beneath the waves, waiting to be imagined once more. Atlantis as a metaphor is a concept that stretches beyond the physical and into the abstract, touching on the larger, cyclical patterns of human history. Many historians, philosophers, and thinkers over the years have speculated that the story of Atlantis is not just about a singular lost civilization, but rather a symbolic reflection on the rise and fall of civilizations as a whole. The myth of Atlantis, in this light, speaks to the fragility and impermanence of human endeavor, no matter how great or advanced a society may become. The narrative of Atlantis' tragic fall serves as a cautionary tale, a reminder of the dangers of hubris and the destructive power of unchecked ambition. Plato's depiction of a once flourishing kingdom that grew complacent in its power and fell into decadence mirrors the fates of many real-world empires throughout history. As we look back at the great civilizations that have come before us, the Egyptians, Romans, the Maya, we see similar patterns of prosperity, overreach, and eventual collapse. These historical parallels suggest that Atlantis may have been more than just a warning to ancient societies. It may reflect an eternal truth about the trajectory of human civilizations. In ancient Greece, the story of Atlantis could have been an allegory, designed not to document a literal event, but to teach moral lessons. In Plato's dialogues, the story of Atlantis is embedded within a broader philosophical context. The rise of Atlantis is painted as a consequence of its people's growing arrogance and their belief in their invulnerability. Plato's tale, in essence, was a warning about the dangers of greed, pride, and the inevitable downfall that follows when a society forgets the value of humility, justice, and virtue. If we fast forward to more recent times, we begin to see similar patterns. The fall of the Roman Empire, for example, was driven in part by internal corruption, a growing sense of invincibility, and an inability to adapt to changing circumstances. The empire, once vast and powerful, crumbled from within, much like the kingdom of Atlantis. The same can be said for the Mayans, whose once thriving cities and advanced civilization fell into decline, partly due to environmental factors and societal collapse. While these examples are not as fantastical as Plato's Atlantis, they speak to the same underlying themes: the cyclical nature of human history, where civilizations rise to great heights and eventually succumb to their own excesses or external forces. The fall of Atlantis, as Plato describes it, also serves as a stark reminder of the unpredictable and often destructive forces of nature. Natural disasters, from earthquakes to volcanic eruptions to floods, have been a significant factor in the downfall of many civilizations throughout history. In fact, many theories of Atlantis' location are based on the idea that the civilization was destroyed by a cataclysmic event, such as the eruption of the volcano Thera, which wiped out the Minoan civilization on the island of Santorini. The destruction of Atlantis might, therefore, symbolize the power of nature to disrupt even the most advanced and seemingly invincible societies. But as we explore Atlantis as a metaphor, we also encounter an even deeper, more universal theme: the human tendency to forget the lessons of history. As we look at the rise and fall of empires, we see that humanity often repeats its mistakes. The story of Atlantis may not just be about the fall of a single civilization, but about the cycles of history repeating themselves in different forms. Our modern world, with its rapid technological advancements, booming economies, and expanding global influence, may face the same pitfalls that led to the demise of Atlantis. The warnings embedded in the myth of Atlantis echo louder than ever, urging us to reflect on our own values, our environmental impact, and our relationship with power. Atlantis, then, may not just be the story of a lost civilization beneath the waves, but a timeless allegory that resonates with every generation. It asks us to examine our actions, our ambitions, and our sense of security in the face of inevitable change. Could the story of Atlantis be a reflection of the universal truth that no matter how far we progress, we are always vulnerable to the forces beyond our control? And perhaps, in the end, the true lesson of Atlantis is not to chase after the city itself, but to learn from the cautionary tale it offers, a reminder of the fleeting nature of human glory and the importance of balance, humility, and respect for the world around us. As we ponder these deeper reflections, it becomes evident that the legend of Atlantis has endured for millennia because it speaks to something fundamental within us. It taps into our fears, our hopes, and our aspirations. It reminds us that civilizations, no matter how grand, are temporary, and that the mistakes of the past should not be forgotten. Instead of searching for Atlantis in the waters beneath the earth, perhaps we should focus on searching for the wisdom contained in its myth, an enduring lesson for the ages. As we continue to search for clues about Atlantis, we come across one of the most intriguing aspects of the mystery: submerged cities and ancient ruins hidden beneath the waves. These underwater discoveries have long fascinated archaeologists, oceanographers, and explorers, as they seem to echo Plato's descriptions of a civilization lost to the sea. While no discovery has definitively proven the existence of Atlantis, many of these submerged sites offer tantalizing possibilities, drawing us deeper into the mystery of whether Atlantis was a real place or simply a myth born from an ancient, shared memory of a great civilization that disappeared beneath the waves. One of the most famous and mysterious submerged sites is Yonaguni, located off the coast of Japan. The Yonaguni Monument, as it is known, consists of massive, flat stone structures resembling terraces, staircases, and and platforms. Some have suggested that these formations are the remains of an ancient city, possibly a civilization that predates recorded history. The precise origin of the monument is still debated. Some scientists argue that it is the result of natural geological processes, while others maintain that it could be the remnants of a lost human civilization. The idea that such structures might be the work of a forgotten people raises fascinating questions about the extent of ancient maritime civilizations and whether their knowledge and achievements could have been lost to time, buried under the ocean's depths. Another notable submerged site is the so-called Cuban city off the coast of Cuba, where sonar equipment has mapped what appear to be large, man-made structures at depths of over 2,000 feet. These structures, spanning vast areas, seem to suggest a highly advanced civilization, but their location and depth make them incredibly difficult to investigate. The discovery was initially met with skepticism, and many mainstream scientists remain unconvinced that these are the remains of an ancient city. Yet, the very existence of such formations raises important questions about our understanding of ancient civilizations and the possibility that they might have existed far earlier than we thought. Could these underwater ruins be linked to Atlantis, or are they the remnants of another long-forgotten culture that flourished in a distant era? Then there are the submerged ruins in the Bay of Cambay, off the coast of India. In 2001, sonar scans revealed what appeared to be the remains of a large city that had been submerged beneath the sea for thousands of years. Some of the structures visible in the scans resemble buildings, streets, and other urban features, and initial analysis suggested that the ruins were far older than the recorded history of the region. If these structures are indeed man-made, they could date back to a time long before the rise of the Indus Valley civilization. The possibility that a highly sophisticated city once thrived here, only to be lost to rising sea levels or a catastrophic event, sparks echoes of the Atlantis myth. Could this city, buried beneath the ocean, be one of the many ancient civilizations that have disappeared without a trace, much like Atlantis? As we examine these underwater ruins, we begin to notice a striking similarity between them and the descriptions of Atlantis. Plato's account spoke of a city with grand canals, a powerful navy, and impressive architectural feats. Could these submerged cities be part of the same lost world, a network of forgotten civilizations that once shared similar technologies, cultural practices, and knowledge? The idea that a once thriving kingdom could have been overtaken by the sea is not just confined to myth. It is grounded in the real-world possibility that natural forces, such as rising sea levels, earthquakes, or volcanic eruptions, might have led to the sudden disappearance of entire cultures. Many of these submerged cities have been discovered in locations where ancient people would have been able to trade, interact, and share ideas, areas that would have been bustling with activity in their prime. The sea, over the millennia, has swallowed these ancient lands, leaving behind only fragmented clues of their existence. Whether these cities are connected to the myth of Atlantis or not, they tell us something profound about the relationship between humankind and the natural world. Civilizations, no matter how advanced, are ultimately vulnerable to the shifting tides of time, and their legacies can easily be lost, hidden beneath the waves, waiting to be rediscovered. The underwater ruins are also important because they challenge our understanding of history and the development of ancient societies. For years, mainstream archaeology has focused on certain well-known civilizations, but the discovery of submerged cities suggests that human history may be far older and more complex than previously thought. Could there have been civilizations that existed before the rise of the ones we know today, whose records were lost due to natural disasters or the simple passage of time? If so, it might mean that the myth of Atlantis is not entirely a fabrication, but an echo of something real, a memory of a distant civilization that vanished, leaving behind only fragments in the ocean's depths. What makes these discoveries even more intriguing is that they speak to the mysteries of the sea itself. The ocean, for all its vastness, remains largely unexplored. There are vast stretches of the ocean floor that have yet to be surveyed, and what lies beneath the surface is still largely unknown. For centuries, Humans have looked at the ocean as both a source of life and a realm of mystery, with countless stories of sea creatures, sunken ships, and lost cities filling our imaginations. The idea that Atlantis could be hidden in the depths of the ocean, waiting to be found, taps into a primal curiosity about what lies beneath the waves, a curiosity that continues to drive ocean exploration and inspire tales of treasure, adventure, and discovery. As we consider these submerged cities, the question remains, is Atlantis one of them? While no definitive evidence has yet been found, the ongoing discoveries of underwater ruins hint at the possibility that the myth of Atlantis might have been based on real, lost cities that once thrived on Earth. These submerged structures may not be Atlantis, but they remind us of the fragility of human civilization and the power of nature to erase even the most advanced societies from existence. The ocean, with its endless depths, remains one of the final frontiers of exploration, a place where mysteries lie buried, waiting to be uncovered. In the quest for Atlantis, these underwater cities might not only offer clues to the past, but serve as a reminder that there is still so much about our world that remains hidden beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to be discovered. Through the lens of these submerged cities, we are reminded that the search for Atlantis is not just about finding a lost civilization. It's about uncovering the stories of those who came before us, their triumphs, their mistakes, and their eventual disappearance beneath the waves. The ocean may hold the answers to many of the mysteries we seek, but as with Atlantis, we may find that some questions are never fully answered, leaving us to wonder what other lost worlds remain beneath the surface, just out of reach. As we dive deeper into the mystery of Atlantis, one of the most compelling aspects of a legend is the idea of lost technologies, advanced knowledge and innovations that may have once existed in this forgotten civilization. Plato's depiction of Atlantis paints a picture of a society that was not only highly advanced in terms of architecture and military prowess, but also in its understanding of science, energy, and the natural world. He describes Atlantis as having remarkable technologies, vast irrigation systems, incredible buildings, and grand palaces powered by mysterious energy sources. If Atlantis did exist, could it have truly been as advanced as Plato suggested? And if so, what happened to these technologies? Were they lost forever, or do we still carry remnants of that ancient knowledge, albeit in forgotten or misinterpreted forms? One of the most intriguing elements of the Atlantis myth is the idea that the civilization possessed a profound understanding of energy, specifically an energy source that powered the entire kingdom. Plato's account hints at a mysterious force, sometimes referred to as the power of the gods, which could have been a form of renewable or free energy far ahead of its time. This concept has fueled many modern theories about the technological sophistication of Atlantis, leading to speculation about what kind of energy systems the Atlanteans might have used. Some believe that Atlantis may have had access to advanced forms of electricity, perhaps harnessing the power of the Earth's magnetic field or tapping into natural energy sources like geothermal or tidal power. The idea that ancient civilizations might have possessed such advanced knowledge has fascinated engineers, historians, and futurists alike, sparking countless discussions on the possibility of ancient lost technologies that we have only begun to understand. Many theories also suggest that the Atlanteans might have had sophisticated knowledge of engineering, architecture, and construction. Plato described Atlantis as a city of unparalleled beauty, with enormous temples, towering structures, and canals that were meticulously designed and maintained. These feats of engineering seem almost fantastical when we consider the technological tools available in ancient times. Some believe that the Atlanteans could have developed advanced methods for building structures with materials that are now lost to time. Could they have had a secret formula for creating durable, earthquake-resistant buildings or advanced construction techniques that are only now being rediscovered in modern architecture? Moreover, the idea that Atlantis may have had a deeper understanding of astronomy is another fascinating aspect of the myth. Plato mentions the precision of the Atlantean calendar and their knowledge of celestial events. Many believe that the Atlanteans were not only aware of the cycles of the stars and planets, but also had the ability to predict astronomical events with a level of accuracy that would rival modern technology. This has led some researchers to speculate that Atlantis might have been home to an ancient school of astronomy, where advanced tools were used to chart the night sky. The ancient Egyptians, for example, were known for their advanced knowledge of the stars, and their pyramids are aligned with the constellations. Could Atlantis have been the precursor to such knowledge, a civilization that developed celestial navigation or used astronomy in ways that we are only beginning to understand? In addition to energy, architecture, and astronomy, the myth of Atlantis is often tied to the idea of lost medicine or healing practices. Some believe that the Atlanteans possessed advanced medical knowledge, perhaps even techniques for healing and rejuvenation that we have lost over time. Could Atlantis have had a form of medicine based on natural remedies, crystals, or other techniques that were forgotten after the fall of the civilization? Plato's references to the exceptional health of the Atlanteans and their longevity have led some to suggest that they might have discovered ways to extend life or prevent disease. Ideas that seem extraordinary by today's standards, but are not entirely beyond the realm of possibility when considering what we know about the healing properties of certain plants and minerals. The idea of lost technologies is also closely linked to the question of why these advancements were not passed down to future generations. What happened to this knowledge after Atlantis sank into the sea? Could it have been preserved in other parts of the world, hidden in the pyramids of Egypt, the temples of India, or the lost libraries of Alexandria? Some theorists believe that remnants of Atlantean knowledge may have survived through secret societies or esoteric traditions, passed down through generations in the form of sacred texts, ancient manuscripts, or oral traditions. Others speculate that the knowledge might have been intentionally hidden or lost, perhaps in an effort to prevent it from falling into the wrong hands or being misused. There are also theories that suggest that the knowledge of Atlantis was not entirely lost, but rather transformed into a more subtle form. For example, the concept of sacred geometry, which underpins much of ancient architecture and art, could be linked to the knowledge of the Atlanteans. The use of certain proportions, like the golden ratio, in the construction of temples, pyramids, and other structures, is thought to be a key to unlocking the mysteries of ancient civilizations. This kind of knowledge may have been passed down through later cultures, but its true origins could trace back to Atlantis, where it was perfected and applied in ways we can only imagine. Despite the widespread fascination with these ideas, we must also recognize the limitations of our current understanding. Many of the theories surrounding Atlantis' lost technologies are speculative at best, and it is difficult to discern what is truly grounded in fact and what is the product of modern imagination. However, the enduring appeal of these ideas lies in their ability to inspire curiosity about the past and challenge our assumptions about the capabilities of ancient societies. Could we be underestimating the sophistication of the ancients? Could the technologies we associate with modernity have roots in a civilization that flourished long before recorded history? As we reflect on the possibilities of lost Atlantean technologies, we are reminded of the fragile nature of knowledge itself. Civilizations rise and fall, and with each rise and fall, the accumulation of knowledge and wisdom can either be preserved or erased. The destruction of Atlantis, whether through natural disaster or human folly, may have led to the loss of technologies and ideas that could have shaped the course of history. And yet, the very idea that such knowledge existed in the first place continues to captivate our imaginations, pushing us to seek answers to questions that have remained unanswered for millennia. In the end, the myth of Atlantis may not just be about a civilization lost to time. It may be a symbol of the potential for greatness that lies within every human society. It calls us to consider what we are capable of achieving, the knowledge we can discover, and the technologies we can create if we are willing to look beyond the limits of what we know and dare to uncover the secrets of the past. Even if we never find the exact technologies of Atlantis, the quest to understand the lost wisdom of ancient civilizations reminds us of the endless possibilities that await us in the exploration of our own potential. When it comes to the search for Atlantis, one of the most captivating and enduring aspects of a legend is the quest for its physical location. For centuries, explorers, historians, and researchers have speculated on where the lost city might be found, using Plato's descriptions as their guide. The myth of Atlantis has sparked countless theories about its location, with potential sites ranging from the Mediterranean to the far reaches of the Atlantic Ocean, even extending to distant lands like Antarctica. But the question remains, could any of these sites truly be the home of the fabled city, or are they merely the products of imagination, folklore, and wishful thinking? As we explore the different theories surrounding Atlantis' location, we begin to see how this mystery has captured the collective imagination across time and cultures, urging us to question our understanding of history and the world around us. One of the most widely accepted theories places Atlantis in the Mediterranean, specifically on the island of Santorini, formerly known as Thera. This theory is grounded in the idea that Atlantis was a powerful seafaring civilization that met its end through a catastrophic event, such as a volcanic eruption or an earthquake. The eruption of the Thera volcano around 1600 BCE is one of the most significant volcanic events in history, and it devastated the Minoan civilization, which was centered on the island of Crete. The eruption is believed to have caused massive tsunamis and widespread destruction, potentially explaining Plato's account of Atlantis sinking beneath the waves. Many researchers point to the striking similarities between the Minoan civilization and the descriptions of Atlantis, suggesting that Plato may have been drawing on this real-world event when crafting his tale of a lost kingdom. Others have proposed that Atlantis could be located in the vast expanse of the Atlantic Ocean, as the name Atlantis itself seems to suggest a connection to the Atlantic. The idea of an island located beyond the Pillars of Hercules, what we now call the Strait of Gibraltar, has led to theories suggesting that Atlantis was somewhere in the middle of the ocean, far beyond the reaches of the ancient Mediterranean world. One of the most popular contenders for this Atlantic Atlantis is the Azores, a group of islands located to the west of Portugal. These islands, which rise sharply from the ocean floor, have long been the subject of speculation due to their geographical positioning and the fact that some of them are surrounded by deep underwater structures, which might resemble the remains of ancient cities. The theory of an Atlantic Atlantis was further popularized by the 19th century writer Ignatius Donnelly, who proposed that Atlantis was a highly advanced civilization that spread its influence across the globe, leaving traces of its culture in places such as Egypt, South America, and even the Caribbean. According to Donnelly, Atlantis was the source of many of the world's ancient mythologies and technological innovations, and its eventual destruction led to a wave of migrations that brought these ideas to other cultures. This theory sparked interest in many parts of the world, especially in the Caribbean, where some believe that the Bermuda Triangle could be the remnants of Atlantis. The strange phenomena in this area, mysterious disappearances of ships and aircraft, have often been linked to the idea of Atlantis, with some suggesting that the lost city might lie beneath the waters of the Caribbean, waiting to be uncovered. On the other side of the world, there are also theories that place Atlantis in the waters around the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico. Some have speculated that the ancient city could have been located in the Gulf of Mexico, specifically around the Yucatan Peninsula, home to the ancient Maya civilization. Proponents of this theory point to the intricate and sophisticated urban planning found in the ruins of Mayan cities, such as Chichen Itza and Tulum, as evidence that the Maya were heirs to an ancient tradition of knowledge that could have originated in Atlantis. The idea that the Maya were somehow connected to the lost city of Atlantis has been bolstered by similarities in their architecture, astronomy, and calendar systems. In addition to these Mediterranean and Atlantic theories, some researchers have taken a more unconventional approach, suggesting that Atlantis might be located in areas far from the traditional reaches of ancient civilizations. One such theory places Atlantis in the far south, in Antarctica. The idea that Atlantis could have been located at the South Pole, buried under ice, may seem far-fetched at first, but there are some intriguing arguments behind it. Proponents of this theory suggest that in ancient times, the Earth's axial tilt was different, and the region now covered in ice was once a temperate zone, possibly home to a flourishing civilization. The evidence for this theory largely stems from the idea that ancient civilizations could have had the knowledge to map the stars and continents in a way that was lost to later generations, and that Antarctica may have been a warm and thriving place when Atlantis was said to have existed. Another more speculative theory places Atlantis in the Middle East, specifically in the area surrounding the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, in the region that is now Iraq and Syria. This theory suggests that Atlantis could have been a precursor to Mesopotamian civilization, and that its influence might have spread to the Sumerians, Akkadians, and Babylonians. Supporters of this theory point to the advanced engineering, astronomy, and mathematics of the Mesopotamians as evidence of lost knowledge that could have originated with Atlantis. If Atlantis were indeed located in this region, it could have been a river-based civilization, much like the Egyptians, with its rise and fall influenced by the cyclical nature of the rivers themselves. While these theories about Atlantis' location are intriguing, none have yet provided definitive proof of the city's existence. What is clear, however, is that the search for Atlantis continues to captivate the imagination of people around the world. The idea that there may be a hidden kingdom beneath the ocean, waiting to be uncovered, evokes a sense of wonder and mystery that transcends time and place. Each new theory brings with it the possibility of a new discovery, a new clue that could bring us closer to understanding this age-old enigma. Whether Atlantis is found in the Mediterranean, the Atlantic, or in more unconventional places like Antarctica or the Middle East, the quest to uncover its secrets continues to fuel our desire for discovery, and perhaps even a deeper understanding of the forces that have shaped our world. As we contemplate these different theories, we are reminded of the power of myth and its ability to transcend geographic boundaries and cultural divides. The story of Atlantis, regardless of its physical location, serves as a universal symbol of the rise and fall of civilizations, the fragility of human achievement, and the mysteries that lie just beyond our reach. Whether the ruins of Atlantis are hidden beneath the Mediterranean Sea, the depths of the Atlantic Ocean, or somewhere completely unexpected, the quest to find it continues to inspire adventurers, scholars, and dreamers alike. And in this search, perhaps we are not only looking for a lost city, but also for the wisdom and lessons that have been passed down through the ages, waiting to be rediscovered. As we journey through the many layers of the Atlantis mystery, one thing becomes abundantly clear. The legacy of this lost civilization extends far beyond the pages of Plato's dialogues. Over the centuries, the myth of Atlantis has shaped cultures, influenced artistic expression, inspired scientific exploration, and permeated the collective imagination of societies across the globe. Whether through literature, architecture, philosophy, or pop culture, the idea of Atlantis continues to be a powerful symbol, a reflection of humanity's hopes, fears, and desires. But what is it about the myth of Atlantis that continues to captivate us, generation after generation? What is it about this lost kingdom that resonates so deeply with our curiosity, our sense of wonder, and our fascination with the unknown? One of the most significant ways in which the Atlantis myth has impacted culture is through the realm of literature. Throughout history, writers have drawn inspiration from the story of the lost city, weaving it into their own narratives and exploring the themes of civilization, hubris, and the inevitable decline of great powers. From the early references in the works of ancient philosophers to the more modern renditions found in works of fiction, the allure of Atlantis as a symbol of an idealized, lost world has been irresistible. The story of a great civilization that fell from grace, swallowed by the sea, has served as a powerful metaphor for the transient nature of human achievement. In the 19th century, the concept of Atlantis experienced a resurgence with the work of writers such as Ignatius Donnelly, whose book Atlantis, The Antediluvian World, proposed that the lost city was the cradle of all advanced human civilization. This theory inspired many future writers and thinkers, including the famous science fiction author H.P. Lovecraft, whose work was heavily influenced by the idea of ancient civilizations lost to time. Lovecraft's stories often drew upon the idea of ancient, forgotten knowledge and powerful, otherworldly forces, much like those attributed to the Atlanteans. Through these stories, Atlantis came to symbolize a hidden, mysterious power, both a warning and an inspiration. The myth of Atlantis also influenced the field of architecture. Ancient civilizations, such as the Greeks and Romans, were fascinated by the notion of a lost utopia, a society that had mastered the art of building in harmony with nature, and whose structures were of unparalleled beauty and grandeur. In more recent centuries, architects and engineers have looked to the idea of Atlantis for inspiration in their designs, hoping to capture the same sense of awe and wonder that Plato's description evoked. This influence is evident in the construction of monumental structures like grand palaces, temples, and even entire cities that seek to embody the ideals attributed to Atlantis. Advanced engineering, a deep connection to the natural world, and a perfect balance between humanity and the environment. Beyond literature and architecture, Atlantis has also had a profound impact on modern philosophy and thought. The themes of moral decay, hubris, and the rise and fall of civilizations present in the Atlantis myth have resonated with philosophers and scholars throughout history. Plato himself used the story of Atlantis as a cautionary tale, a warning against the dangers of excessive pride and the consequences of straying too far from the path of virtue. This philosophical aspect of the Atlantis story has inspired thinkers from the ancient world to the present day, shaping discussions about the nature of power, justice, and the fragility of human civilization. In the modern world, the myth of Atlantis continues to be a powerful catalyst for exploration and discovery. Throughout history, the search for Atlantis has driven countless expeditions to distant corners of the globe, whether to the depths of the Mediterranean, the waters of the Atlantic, or even the remote regions of the Arctic and Antarctic. The ongoing quest to find the lost city has led to advances in underwater archaeology, oceanography, and geophysics. Researchers and adventurers are constantly exploring new frontiers in the hopes of uncovering new clues that might lead to the fabled city's discovery. These expeditions, while often unsuccessful in their quest to find Atlantis, continue to push the boundaries of human exploration and expand our understanding of the world's hidden depths. The Atlantis myth has also been deeply ingrained in popular culture, from movies and television shows to video games and comic books. The idea of a lost city hidden beneath the waves, filled with advanced technologies and ancient secrets, has proven to be a rich source of inspiration for storytellers across mediums. Films like Atlantis, The Lost Empire, and The Secret of the Lost City explore the idea of a forgotten civilization and its mysterious downfall, blending adventure, fantasy, and history into engaging narratives. These fictional portrayals of Atlantis capture the essence of the myth, blending elements of wonder, danger, and the search for lost knowledge, and ensuring that the legend continues to captivate new generations of viewers. As we reach the final chapter of this journey into the depths of Atlantis, we are left with more questions than answers. The story of the lost city is not just a tale of a vanished civilization. It is a reflection of the human condition itself. Throughout history, civilizations have risen and fallen, empires have been built and destroyed, and knowledge has been lost and rediscovered. Atlantis, whether it existed or not, serves as a powerful reminder of both the potential and the fragility of human achievement. The allure of the myth is not in the certainty of its existence, but in the questions it raises and the lessons it offers. One of the most profound insights that the Atlantis myth provides is the idea of impermanence. We live in a world that constantly changes, and history is full of examples of great cultures and societies that once flourished only to disappear, sometimes without a trace. The fall of Atlantis, as Plato described it, is a stark warning about the dangers of hubris, the belief that human power can overcome the forces of nature and the universe. According to the myth, Atlantis fell because its inhabitants became corrupt, their leaders indulged in greed and excess, and they lost sight of the balance that had once made their civilization great. In this sense, Atlantis is not just a story about a lost city, but a cautionary tale about the rise and fall of all human endeavors. The idea that a civilization could reach such heights only to be lost forever beneath the waves speaks to a deeper existential fear, the fear of obsolescence, of being forgotten. Perhaps it is this fear that drives the ongoing search for Atlantis. After all, the search is not merely about uncovering a city buried beneath the sea. It is about uncovering a piece of our own identity. If Atlantis could have existed and then vanished, it forces us to ask, what is it that we are building today? What legacy will we leave behind? And will it endure the test of time? These are questions that transcend the myth itself. Questions that resonate with our own desire to create something meaningful that will outlast our own lifetimes. But Atlantis also offers hope, albeit in a more subtle way. In its most positive interpretation, the story of the lost city can be seen as a metaphor for the potential that lies within us all. If a civilization like Atlantis could have existed, with its advanced knowledge, beauty, and harmony, then perhaps we too can reach such heights in our own world. Perhaps the myth of Atlantis is a call to action, a reminder that we have the capacity to build a society that values wisdom, compassion, and sustainability. Though Atlantis may have fallen, its story endures because it taps into a universal aspiration, the desire to create a better world, one that is built on respect for nature, balance, and knowledge. In this way, Atlantis represents not just what was lost, but also what could still be achieved. In many ways, the Atlantis myth functions as a mirror to our own society, reflecting back our strengths and our weaknesses. As we face unprecedented challenges today, climate change, political instability, technological advancements that outpace our ability to understand them, the lessons of Atlantis seem particularly relevant. The myth asks us to reflect on how we use our power and knowledge. Are we becoming too arrogant in our pursuit of progress? Are we losing sight of the interconnectedness of all things? Just as the Atlanteans are said to have fallen because of their excess and their disconnection from the natural world, we too must ask ourselves whether we are headed down a similar path. The collapse of Atlantis is not just a tale of ancient history. It is a mirror reflecting our own potential downfall if we do not learn to live in harmony with the world around us. At the same time, the search for Atlantis continues to inspire wonder and curiosity. Despite the absence of concrete evidence, the myth of the lost city has sparked a deep and enduring interest in exploration, archaeology, and the mysteries of the past. Each theory about Atlantis, whether it posits the city's location in the Mediterranean, the Atlantic, or beyond, reveals our relentless desire to uncover the unknown. It reflects the human drive to seek out what is hidden, to ask questions, and to uncover the secrets of the past. The search for Atlantis is not just about finding a lost city. It is about the journey itself, the pursuit of knowledge, and the hope that in the process, we may uncover something even greater than the city itself. And yet, even if Atlantis remains lost, the very fact that we continue to search for it speaks to something profound about human nature. We are drawn to mystery, to the allure of the unknown, because it reminds us of the vastness of the world and the limits of our own understanding. Atlantis represents the idea that there's always something more to discover, something beyond what we can see, something that lies just beneath the surface, waiting to be unearthed. The myth of Atlantis encourages us to look beyond the everyday, to reach for something greater, and to seek knowledge in places we might never have considered. As we bring our exploration of Atlantis to a close, we are left with a sense of wonder and a lingering curiosity about the mysteries of the world. The legend of Atlantis, whether real or fictional, has journeyed with us through time, evoking emotions, inspiring dreams, and sparking imaginations across centuries. The lost city has become more than just a myth. It is a symbol, an idea, a canvas upon which we project our deepest desires and fears. It speaks to our longing for lost knowledge, for utopian ideals, and for a deeper understanding of ourselves and our place in the vast tapestry of history. The enduring mystery of Atlantis forces us to confront the limits of human understanding. For all our advances in science, technology, and exploration, there are still vast unknowns. Atlantis, as a concept, reflects this ever-present gap between what we know and what we are yet to discover. It challenges us to think about the nature of truth itself. Does it matter whether Atlantis ever existed in the literal sense? Or is the power of the myth found in its ability to transcend time, place, and even reality? Perhaps the truth of Atlantis lies not in archaeological digs or oceanic explorations, but in the profound impact it has had on our collective consciousness. It represents our unrelenting curiosity, our desire to understand the world and the forces that shape it. Whether it's the idea of a sunken paradise, an ancient utopia, or the reflection of our own fragility, Atlantis continues to resonate because it taps into something timeless within us. At the heart of the Atlantis myth is the notion of a perfect civilization, one that achieved greatness, but ultimately fell victim to its own flaws. This narrative serves as both a cautionary tale and a beacon of hope. The rise and fall of Atlantis reflect the cyclical nature of human history, the constant ebb and flow of civilizations, from birth to decay. In this sense, Atlantis acts as a mirror to our own world, reminding us that all things, no matter how great, are temporary. Empires rise and fall, technologies advance and become obsolete, but the lessons of the past remain embedded in the stories we tell. Perhaps Atlantis was not a literal place at all, but a metaphorical one, a warning to future generations about the dangers of pride, greed, and a disconnection from the natural world. In this way, the myth lives on, urging us to reflect on our actions and decisions, and to consider the consequences they may have on future generations. Yet, for all its warnings, the story of Atlantis also holds the promise of renewal. It reminds us that even in the face of disaster, there's always the possibility of rebirth. The myth suggests that after the fall of great civilizations, new worlds can emerge from the ashes. Just as Atlantis was said to have sunk beneath the waves, its story rises again in the present, inspiring new generations to search for knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. The search for Atlantis is, in many ways, a metaphor for the human quest for meaning and purpose. As we look to the future, we are reminded that it is not just the knowledge of the past that shapes us, but our ability to learn from it and apply its lessons to the challenges ahead. In this sense, the legend of Atlantis continues to inspire, not only because of the mystery surrounding its physical location, but because it speaks to our collective hopes for a better world. It challenges us to imagine what is possible and to strive for a society that values wisdom, balance, and sustainability. As we move forward into an uncertain future, the story of Atlantis reminds us that greatness is not measured by power or wealth, but by the ability to live in harmony with the natural world and with each other. The myth of Atlantis, then, is a vision of what could be, a dream of a civilization where knowledge and virtue align to create a world that lasts. And yet, even as we reflect on the lessons that Atlantis imparts, we must also recognize the role that myth plays in shaping our perceptions of the world. Myths are not just stories. They're frameworks through which we interpret the world around us. They help us make sense of the unknown, providing meaning in a world full of uncertainty. The story of Atlantis, like all myths, helps us explore the mysteries of human existence and our place in the universe. It encourages us to ask questions, to challenge assumptions, and to look beyond the surface of things to uncover deeper truths. Whether or not Atlantis ever existed, its power lies in its ability to spark wonder, to provoke thought, and to inspire a sense of connection to something greater than ourselves. As we conclude our exploration, we are reminded of the enduring power of stories to shape our understanding of history, mystery, and the world itself. The myth of Atlantis, like so many other legends, continues to captivate us because it speaks to universal themes of loss, hope, and the search for meaning. The mystery of Atlantis may never be solved, but in many ways, that is the very essence of its allure. It is a story that never truly ends, for it is a story that lives within us, passed down through generations, always evolving, always inviting us to look deeper. Perhaps Atlantis will always remain just beyond our grasp, a legend submerged beneath the surface of history, waiting to be rediscovered. Or perhaps it exists not as a physical place, but as an idea, a beacon of possibility, an emblem of human potential, and a reminder of the fragile nature of all things. In this way, Atlantis is not just a lost city. It is a lasting symbol of our collective journey, a journey that continues, one step at a time, into the unknown, guided by the mysteries of the past and the endless possibilities of the future.